On today's episode of Fighting with My Subscribers, let's get right into it. Free healthcare. It should be a thing in America. I'll argue this one till the day I die because I've lived in enough countries where there is free healthcare. And while the people from those countries will say, well, it's not free, we pay taxes. Hey, we pay taxes here. We pay taxes for everything. Everyone pays taxes. But where does that money go? That's what matters. And if you can at least give healthcare to the people in your country, then you have no point having a country. America is grossly sick when it comes to our healthcare system and the health of our people. And is it a communist thing to want free healthcare? Maybe. I'm not a communist. I believe in home ownership. I believe in entrepreneurship. I believe in making money and having the best life that you can. So I fail to see how that makes me a communist. If anything, that makes me a capitalist, which is gross, and I don't really want to be defined as one or the other because it's stupid, because it's a silly thing to categorize people as one thing or the other when that's not a big part of who they are. We can talk all day about how the American diet makes us die young, makes us fat, makes us obese, makes us stupid, makes us dependent on the government because our health is so terrible, makes us die younger. And is it communist to believe that? No, I don't think so. That's just a fact. That's just the way that it is. And a big part of that is our healthcare system. Healthcare in America is a joke globally. It just is. Does it have to be that way? No, we're a rich country. We can provide healthcare to every citizen in this country, and it really wouldn't be an issue. Because there's a difference between cost of living and quality of life. And quality of life in America is going downhill super freaking fast. And a big part of that is the fact that nobody can get healthcare. You can get it, but you can't afford it. People go into ruinous debt just having trivial things done. Like I said, I went to the ER, 2 months ago because I had a temperature of 104.2 degrees. Ended up walking out with a $6,000 bill. $6,000. Who can afford that? I can't afford it. Can you afford it? You can? Good for you. But most people can't afford that. And right now we got a kid that's about to be born. I'm going to tell you what, that's expensive. Even with employee health care, people look at $8,000 to $10,000 just to have a kid. You can't be pro-family. You can't be pro-freedom, but at the same time, be anti-health care. Because families need health care. And life is expensive right now. And whether you're on the left or right, if you think I'm a communist or you think I'm a capitalist, we all got to agree that life right now is super expensive and nobody can afford the things that they should be able to afford. One of the biggest reasons why Americans are dying young and they're as unhealthy as they are, just walking around looking gross, looking sick, looking unhealthy, is because they can't afford to go to the doctor. Even if you have health care, you still have to pay enormous premiums just to go, with copays on top of that. Put that with the cost of living, the cost of rent, the cost of mortgages, the cost of feeding your family, the cost of taxes, the cost of insurance, the cost of breathing, the cost of walking down the road, the cost of driving. You have to have a car for the most part because this nation is not meant to walk in. People can't afford to go to the doctor. This is reality. It doesn't make you a communist because you don't want to see people suffer. It doesn't make you a communist because you want people to have the ability to go see a doctor. It should be something that a rich country can just afford. Living in Greece, arguably a pretty poor country, and the people there have great health care. People can go to a doctor. Is it free? No. You can pay a little bit of money, like a little bit. It's nothing. If you're Greek, is it expensive? Not as expensive relatively as it is in America. No, it's not. You're still going to get seen. You're going to get health care. If you need to go to an ER, you're not going to walk out with a $6,000 bill. I'll tell you that. You'll probably not even walk out owing 20 euros. Like, oh, you have to wait for appointments. Yeah, but you got to wait for appointments pretty much everywhere you go. But there is such thing as triage. If you're dying, you're going to get seen. So what this is just a lot of excuses people make because they're so wrapped up in definitions of this is communist or this is capitalist that they can't even do what's good for their own people. It's a great marker of a hypocrite. And America, if anything, is becoming a nation of hypocrites. And that's a fact. We'll talk about freedom. We'll talk about how America's the greatest country on the planet. But at the same time, while it's burning down around us, we'll get so wrapped up in the definition of things and our own bullshit tribalism that we won't see anything improve. We won't see America reach a new golden age. We'll see it reach a death spiral but that's it. Healthcare should be a human right. Healthcare should be something that is expected in the greatest country in the world. If the greatest country in the world is a country that can't provide healthcare for its people as a basic right, then I don't know what metrics you're actually measuring how great a country actually is. Because the culture is bull. The education sucks. The people are fat and lazy. And their political decisions show that their souls are just kind of dog shit at this point. So it's ridiculous to argue morality with people who, through their decisions and their representations of what they believe in, show they have no empathy or morality to anybody. You're a bad person. That's what you are. Does that say that all Americans are bad people? Of course not. I think the vast majority of Americans are great people. Unfortunately, the squeakiest wheel gets the oil. And that's what we often hear is just the loudest voices out there. And it's not a small group of people, and you know who you are. But it is ridiculous to say that you have this nation's best interest in mind and you focus only on things like a perceived notion of freedom that you can't truly define, while at the same time your grandma can't even afford to go to the doctor. And she should go to the doctor because she's poor and unhealthy and her diet is terrible because American food is terrible. Because what is affordable to the vast majority of people, not everyone's going to Whole Foods. And if you're working 12, 13, 14 hours a day, guess what? You don't exactly have time to turn into a freaking chef. So the basic expectation, if you expect people to work as much as you do in a nation like America, really to pay into that system, the at least you can give them is some free healthcare. That's the bare minimum. People shouldn't go their entire lives without going to the doctor. My mom is one of these people. She's a very healthy person. She doesn't eat meat. She gets a ton of exercise. She's a very social person. She doesn't really drink. Right? She's a happy-go-lucky person. Flower child, if you will. Bit of a hippie, but incredibly healthy. We think so, but she's also had cancer in the past. And she's afraid to go back to the doctor sometimes because how can she afford it? Even her deductible for her job is like something like $5,000. That's a lot. And she's older. And she's getting to the point where she needs to retire soon. At the same time, she has to choose, can I retire this year or do I need to pay to go to the doctor? So her and many people like her decide, well, if I feel good, I don't need to go get a checkup. And then things that you can't see grow. And people suffer and people get illnesses. And illnesses that could have been preventable with basic checkups. But you won't even provide that because that's too close to being communist for you. It's gross and it's a joke. We should expect a nation as great as America to be able to afford healthcare for its own people. If you can afford to give hundreds of millions, hundreds of billions of dollars to other countries in aid, while at the same time turning a blind eye and turning your back on your own people, then you are not good for your own people. You are self-centered and you look out for yourself. You are a solipsist and the world revolves around you solely. But one day you're going to get old and one day your finances may not be as good as they are now. You never know what happens. The vicissitudes of life are a strange thing. And one day you may find yourself wanting and being desperate. And sadly, because you thought it's a communist thing, healthcare, that's not there for you. It's not an option. So you better suffer in silence because you expect others to suffer in silence. Because that's not where you want your tax dollars to go. Now, you'll let it go to the military. You'll let it go to a bloated bureaucracy. You'll let it go to government programs. You'll let it go to an infinite sphere of places where money just ends up running to, from corporations to billionaires. And that doesn't bother you because it fits your narrative at the time. And as soon as you're out of power, what happens? You flip the script and play the victim again. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Cartoon people on TV saying that they speak for the people. It's ludicrous. Don't be such a fool that you get wrapped up in things like communism when it comes to social safety nets, because I'll tell you right now, as someone who's seen people in an advanced elderly state, in the state of homelessness, it's not something you want to see outside your doorstep. It's not something you want to see as a normal thing in America that we come in contact with, because it is a normal thing in other countries. And if you're too unhealthy to work, you're too unhealthy to pay your rent, you're too unhealthy to pay your rent, you're probably going to be homeless. But hey, guess what? You should probably pull yourself up by your own bootstraps, right? The meritocratic way. And while I do like a good meritocracy, as someone who is a high performer, I'll tell you this right now, not everybody can meet the expectations that you put on them. And setting high expectations on other people and deriding them when they fail isn't a marker of strength. It's the marker of inner cowardice. If you're unwilling to take on the burdens and the hardships of others, It doesn't define you as a strong man. It defines you as a weak man. It doesn't define you as a good person. It defines you as a weak person. We can argue about tariffs and everything until we go blue in the face. But the fact is, in the end, when it's all over and when no one can afford food, you're certainly not going to be able to go to the doctor. And that's going to be an afterthought. And the last thing that you'll be thinking when that time comes and you see everybody as desperate as they will be is, well, at least we didn't let those communists win. Ridiculous. A ridiculous thing to say. It has nothing to do with communism. It has nothing to do with socialism. The promotion and advancement of social safety nets in a country as great as America should be has nothing to do with communism or socialism. It's simply about taking care of the people in your country. You're talking about the sacrifices you'll make to make this country great, but you won't sacrifice to give them free healthcare. You won't sacrifice to give them a decent education. We're not even talking about college. We're talking about grade school. Because in the end, like I said, not everybody can afford to send their kid to a private school, to a Christian school. Not everybody can afford these things. These things are luxuries. And if you think that these are normal things that people should just be able to afford by default because they work hard, then you're someone who is completely out of touch with society. And honestly, no one should care what you do think, because you're somebody who's just uninformed. And ignorant people shouldn't have the microphone. And honestly, this is a pretty easy video for me to make. Because ever since I started talking about how hard it is for a lot of people to live in America and how we should have higher expectations of our government and what they should be able to provide for their people, I've been called nothing but a communist shill, death threats. People telling me to go get rid of myself. People call my beautiful wife a gold digger and my kid an anchor baby. Whew, shame on you. Shame on you. So yeah, an easy video to make. Expect more from your country. Expect more from your people. Ignorant people are going to be out there. And while they may consider themselves patriots and lions of the republic, I tell you this right now, it's always the loudest ones that are biggest cowards. And that's a fact. So thank you for stopping by, everybody. And as always, thank you for the support. Me and my immigrant wife are very happy for all the support that we get from you guys. We love America. We love this country. We love you. And we're so excited to have our Turkish American baby come into this world in a few weeks. And you can't rain on my parade. Have a good one.